Is it Dotty?
It's Doty.
Doty.
Yeah.
It's the 15-minute Mac book. And you know what's unique about this book is the Mac is a 15-minute machine in terms of learning. It's not like a Windows machine where you'd have to learn this whole book to get started. A Mac, you can take it in 15-minute pieces. So that's quite unique. I get asked all the time, where did I go to school for the Mac? And I tell people I didn't. I just read the magazines and did the stuff myself. And it makes sense that the Mac is a 15-minute machine.
Learn as you go.
So, Paul, maybe you want to talk a little bit about how you got started and uh, where you are now.
Well, how I got started on the MacBook. That's interesting because that was actually my fourth book, and all four of my books, all of them have absolutely nothing to do with each other. They say the worst thing you can do as an author is to write multiple books on multiple subjects. So I'm doing absolutely everything possible to be the worst author possible, evidently. But I've always been a person that thinks, well, if you're interested in something and you're entrenched in something, well, then that's a good thing to teach or to talk about. So my business that I own is so entrenched in technology, and we have so many Mac computers, and I've been in the Mac ecosystem now through 8 operating systems, so it just seemed natural.
Yeah, and the book is a pretty natural read too, like I was just mentioning. I have somebody, my good friend Carol Burke from Rochester, New York, where I was for a long time, actually where Mac Tech Computer started. She was on her way to purchase an HP machine, and she said her sister spoke positively about the Mac,
Don't do it. No.
and she was trying to. I know she was trying to contact me earlier today, and she probably was thinking, "How come Peter didn't get back to me?" Because I always do. And Carol, you picked a perfect day to check the website and get on the Facebook page because we're talking about that very thing right now. And the HP might be cheaper. You might be you might get a little bit more for your money, but what I've found and what bears this out is that I've never had a person in 35 plus years, I've never had a person go from a Mac to a PC, but I've had literally thousands go from PC to Mac. And
Yeah, and that
when
speaks
you
volumes.
when you go Mac, you don't go back. And then we've got this book here. So, you know, you you need to get that Mac, and I will touch base with you when we get done. I'll touch base with you according to anything else you need to know.
As far as I know, there is no 15-minute PC book.
Yeah, there's the Mac for dummies, which I don't know. That's kind of a conundrum or a oxymoron because if you got a Mac, you're not a dummy.
All right.
But there's definitely Windows, and you know, I don't want to be a knock Windows guy because if you want a less expensive machine that just does what you want to do, and it's just getting on the internet and um, word processing, it's fine. Although even on the internet, it does get viruses, and the
Mhm.
Mac doesn't. So there is that difference.
Yeah, I'm a guy that people ask me, am I my anti PC or whatever? Before Mac, I was involved in the PC infrastructure for, since I think my first operating system, well, I know my first operating system was Windows 3. So, we go back a ways there. My mentality is the right tool for the right job. As I mentioned, my business is technology based, and we have PCs that are running lighting consoles and things. So, I'm entrenched in both worlds. I'm not a strictly Mac guy, but if you want to know what I take with me when I'm out on the road and I'm sitting in a hotel room with my laptop open, it's a MacBook Pro.
Much lighter machine too.
And well built. You look at PCs. You said before, Peter, that when we were talking about the HPs, that yeah, it's going to be cheaper than the Mac, but is it?
In the long run.
I make an argument in the book that if you actually look at the life expectancy that you're going to get out of a PC, and also take your time, because I'm a business owner, I know this. Time is money, and my time is worth something. And 8 years ago when I switched over to Mac, the year before that, I spent more time cleaning viruses off of all of our PCs down at work than doing my job. So, when you say it's cheaper in the long run, is it? From 8 years ago, I still have my MacBook Pro, that I'm using as a computer at work.
Sure.
Hey, Ricardo.
Hey, Ricardo, can you hear us?
Yeah, how's it going?
Good, man. How you doing? Ricardo is another Mac expert.
We have Ricardo, kind of.
Yeah, we got your audio is kind of either on a real bad delay. Are you looking at your computer live? Or are you looking at the Facebook page live? He's on a delay, so I'll just keep talking. Ricardo
I'm on
is
an iPad.
Oh, he's on an iPad. Okay, well, don't pay attention to the Facebook page then, because there's a 10-second delay. And in 10 seconds from now, you'll say, "Oh, okay."
No, that's why he was shaking his head.
Yeah. So Ricardo is another Mac expert. He's very knowledgeable in the repair end, the fine details of logic board repair and graphics chip repair, and very good with a multimeter and soldering. So he's good with questions too, if anybody has those kind of questions. If you want to get online with us, like Ricardo did, just DM me, send me a personal message, or you can click the link that's on the Mac Computer User Group page, and we can get you in that way. And I think Ricardo is going to regroup.
Yeah, my wife has got me a message that she can't find how to get into it, that she can't find a link on the page. I haven't actually gone over and looked at it.
I just posted a link on the Mac page. It's the very top message. I pinned it to the top. So.
Oh yeah, I see it. Okay.
And I'll mark it as an announcement also.
Yeah, it's right there.
Now, I had another question. It's not a Mac question, but it is a book person's question. Somebody who has, like yourself, several books published, is on Amazon, and the MacBook is doing quite well. How would somebody, if somebody was just out there and had ideas for a book, what's the best way to go about getting published?
Well, there's two schools of thought, and I've gone to both schools. There's publishing through a publishing house, and there's publishing self-publishing. When I did my first book, it came out 25 years ago. My first book is called Rubber Meets the Road, and I wrote that after 3 tours with 2 of Christian music's biggest heavy metal bands at the time, Bloodgood and Barren Cross. I was the front of house engineer for both of those bands. That particular one, at the time, 25 years ago, there was no internet. So Amazon was a rainforest, and basically, when I did that book, I just looked at the different publishers that were out there that were doing the same kind of thing that, what I was writing about. And the biggest person in the 80s that was handling Christian music at the time was Heaven's Metal Magazine, which is Doug Van Pelt in Texas. And I didn't know Doug. He didn't know me. And I just sent him a letter telling him who I was. And, you publish a magazine. Are you interested in publishing a book? And he came right back and said, yeah, I want to see this book. So I sent him a copy, and within the year, I had a publishing deal with him. So, and Heaven's HM Press was built out of that. So that was actually the first book that press ever did. When it came time to do the second, third, and fourth book, by that time, we were in the last 5 years, and self-publishing has become such a big thing with Amazon. It's just so easy to do. There's advantages and disadvantages to both. If you self-publish, number one, you're going to get published.
Yeah.
Number two, you keep all the profits.
Oh, I like that one.
Those are the big ones with self-publishing. Now, if you publish through a publishing house, you get a nice big check up front, and they keep all your profits. So you got to kind of look at your book. It's a half dozen one way, six another, and you got to figure, which way you want to go. For the last 3 books, I've self-published. My wife and I have a publishing company separate called P&L Authors, and we do it through that. We haven't published anyone else, but friends and family, if there was someone out there that we would pick up, that would not be a problem at all. We're all set up for that. And in the future, if I have something that I think is going to be better off in the mainstream, I'll take the big check up front. So
sure,
it's really half dozen one way, six another. But the point, I guess, that I'm trying to make is that if you want to write a book today, there's never been an easier time to do it. It's not an easy process, but it's an available process, and it's worth the work that you put into it.
All right. Well, so this is self-published.
The publishing company is owned by my wife and I, P&L Authors.
Okay.
So yeah, it's self-published, and we're serious about the publishing as well as the writing. So yeah.
Well, you wear a lot of hats. I thought I did a lot of stuff, but you wear a lot of hats.
I do.
Well, Ricardo is back, and I'm going to turn his mic on. Ricardo.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, that's
Ricardo
much better.
with us in real time.
Yeah, for some reason the iPad wasn't working correctly, so
Yeah, we
I
had
ended up switching to my laptop.
That's working perfect.
Yep.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good, man.
Long time no see.
Yeah, like a week. Well, and you probably need to get tested, because I tested positive for corona yesterday. So
Really?
Yeah, go down there and get you a test if you can, because Ricardo was with us here for the weekend.
Oh, that's good news for Ricardo.
nothing like coming on screen and getting good news, huh?
Thanks a lot.
No, I think I got it from you.
You got it from me.
So
I'm almost around nobody.
in the Fort Worth area, Ricardo is the person to see with your not just Mac issues, but PC and any kind of electronic repair. And he is very good at taking a machine that you might think is no good for doing anything with anymore, and getting it fixed up and working. So there you go. Hey, look at this lady. Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
Hey,
I recognize her.
You and Paul have the same last name.
Yeah, we do. Funny how that happened work.
And that looks a lot like my library.
So she's your publishing helper.
She is the other half of P&L Authors, yes.
Okay, good. Well, it's good to have you both on at the same time. Maybe we'll get some people who want to ask questions about publishing their books. Now, for any of you that want to make comments on the Facebook page and have them show up so that we can comment on them, there is a link that you have to click on, and I'm going to post that in a minute, as soon as I can find it myself. So we're holding for that. And Ricardo, what's the last repair you did?
Last repair was a 2009 MacBook Pro. Wasn't turning on, and I'm trying to remember what was wrong with it. It had something wrong with the 18-volt circuit. Then that one was a little bit of a mess, just because there was oxidation all over the place. So I repaired the 8-volt line. Then I had to do some repair to the 3-volt as well.
Yeah, we all know what that is.
Yeah.
Paul, I'm gonna let people see your website address here as a banner. So if people want to get in touch with you through your website, they can, and maybe you have some other ways for them to get in touch with you also.
I have an author page on Amazon. All they have to do is search Paul Doty author on that, and it'll come up. And I'm on Goodreads as well.
So we'll put that on your screen as soon as I can find it.
As people join us, they can ask some questions there to the right. I think we also have some questions that we can get to eventually on the Facebook page itself, it looks like.
So I had problems getting into the the StreamYard, and it looked like to me that the link for it was only on Peter's page, not on the event page.
Let me go check that.
Yeah, I'm on the event page, and I'm seeing... I'm on the computer users group.
I think what happened is when we did the test, I accidentally deleted the original link. So we had
there's no link on the event page right now.
So I had to create a whole nother event.
Maybe I was in the wrong event.
So let me see.
And then I had to, Safari wouldn't let me get in there. I had to go to Google Chrome.
Right.
That's what happened. Okay, so let me just create.
Yeah, evidently StreamYard doesn't play well with Safari. So
no,
we probably want to let people know that they need to use Chrome.
Okay, Ricardo, can you scroll? Can you see the Facebook page? Or can we pull a question off the Facebook page?
Sure.
While I do this.
Let's see. Carol Burke.
Oh, we did her.
Yeah, we got Carol with her HP. I think, and Carol, unless you have...
Oh, here's one.
Questions.
I'm looking to purchase a refurbished iMac desktop. And it's not Carol. And she tried different places. She tried Mac of All Trades, which I can vouch for Mac of All Trades. They're a good place to get them from. But now she's had a problem with them, is looking elsewhere. If you can't get it from me, I don't know where you want to get it from. I'm supposed to be retired, but because of COVID and people wanting to be home with their computers and wanting to use computers, it has really pushed me. I'm trying to get out, but they keep pushing me back in.
One of the problems with Macs is once people own them, they don't get rid of them. They repurpose them for whatever.
Okay, I need you guys to either find another question so I can get this link up and going with an event on the page. People are probably looking for it, and events. How long has the publishing company been going?
We're about 5 years old with that.
Now, where are you located physically in the country?
We are in Modesto, California. If you're familiar with George Lucas and the Star Wars franchise,
I am.
He had a movie out.
Yeah, you got squashed down just a little bit, Paul.
Is my audio going?
Yeah.
I hear you now.
So yeah, if you think of American Graffiti, that's Modesto, and We are the hub of California. We're about an hour, 10 minutes outside of the San Francisco Bay Area. And then, of course, certain times of the day, we're 3 hours outside of the Bay Area when you try to get to San Francisco.
Okay. I'm almost there. I just have to make a couple of edits. What machine do you use, Paul, for computer?
Machine. Well, right now I'm on an iMac. This is my personal machine in my home office. It's a 27-inch. I pulled up my little about box right here. I got 32 gigabytes of RAM in it, and has a terabyte SSD drive. I have a about a year-old MacBook Pro, and I have an 8-year-old MacBook Pro, which was my first Apple device, and it's still going strong. It's my computer down at work. It's hooked up to a 27-inch Thunderbolt monitor down there. And my wife and I both have MacBooks that we travel with, and we have a few Mac Minis that we have in service. One running a home theater, and one that has been repurposed 3 times now as just an auxiliary computer in the kitchen for my wife's recipes and things.
Sounds familiar.
And we have other iMacs down at work and things like that. So we've got a few. I posted a picture on Facebook of a few of the computers down at work, and we've got a few at home here too.
Okay, let's see.
I see a very common question that appears on the page all the time.
Uh-huh.
Do Mac users need malware virus protection?
Yeah, I see that all the time. No. Well, malware, yes. You know, do Macs get viruses? Typically not. Is it possible? Remotely. Do they get malware? Yes. They're probably one of the best known anti-malware programs that are out there that you're going to run into on the internet is actually malware itself. And I'm not going to say who it is because I'll get sued for it, because I have friends in this business that have. But what I recommend is a program out there called Malwarebytes. It's free, and I'm sure there's other good ones as well. But that's what I use, and I have it on all of my machines, and it will catch all of your malware that wants to go on there. And for anybody that doesn't know what malware is, malwares typically will embed themselves in your browser and try to redirect you to ads that people are paying to have them redirect you to, which is nefarious. So, other than that, virus protection, no, I run no virus protection on any of my machines. Total number of viruses in 8 years, 0.
I'm the same way. Over 35 years, I've been doing Macs and have never used virus software. I have used Malwarebytes a couple of times. And the only time you will need Malwarebytes is if you don't keep your security updates and you're not running the latest operating system. So other than that, you don't really need virus software on the Mac. There really aren't any viruses that cause harm that would be on a Mac, that harm to your computer. So really, for me, it's not. I mean, and the other question that goes hand in hand with that is, should I get the Apple Care when I buy a new one? What I tell people now is, if you get a new one, definitely get the Apple Care warranty, get the full warranty, because they're just like everything else. They don't have the durability they once had. I have several clients who have 2012 machines and earlier even, and they're still going fine. Mm-hmm. But something that would be a 2013 or above, the Retina machines, it's very difficult to find somebody that has one that old. And in the PC world, forget it. I mean, it's really.
Yeah, there's the fundamental differences really between Mac and PC of why one is prone to viruses and the other is not. It's just the fundamentals of how the operating system itself works. With PC, you have so many people out there writing all kinds of drivers, programs, applications, and to keep track of it all, they use a registry. So everything touches everything else in a PC. On a Mac, when you open an application on a Mac, for the most part, this isn't 100%, but for the most part, it is operating on its own in its own little bubble. When you close it, it's gone. Now, yes, drivers for printers will they're there and shared between applications, but for the most part, something if you're going to infect a device, it's very, very hard to get it embedded into a machine. And then once you close the infected application, it's gone. So it's not really, if you're a person that writes viruses, it's really not worth it to write it for a Mac. You want to write it where you're going to do some real damage and make some real traction. You're going to write it for PC.
Yeah. Now, there was years ago a rumor, and this is just a rumor, that a very popular virus company, to increase their stock value, and this is back in the late 80s, actually put the viruses out themselves, a couple of viruses, and increased their stock. So
do you think there's
I don't
any
know if
truth
that's
to
true.
that?
Personally, I don't know. I wouldn't I wouldn't say anything about that.
Yeah, I think it's so prevalent today that maybe that happened in the beginning, but it's so prevalent today that you don't have to help the problem.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so there's a new link up now. Oh no, it came up as tomorrow. Okay. So we'll change that. So I totally blew it on the event page because when we went into studio early and then for the test, and then I canceled it. Then I couldn't go live with that one anymore, so I had to create a new one.
Yeah.
So let's see, edit. Do-do-do-do.
So I've got a good question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I personally have avoided Big Sur like the plague.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are the major differences that you are seeing with it?
A lot of people not happy with Big Sur. I've heard Big Sewer,
Big sewer.
big mistake. I've heard a lot of things. That all probably started, I'm thinking, with Catalina. And to tell you the truth, I did not like Catalina when Catalina came out, and for good reason. As far as Big Sur goes, I like Big Sur. I think its best feature is that it works. When Catalina came out, there was so many issues because they were transitioning from, if you think about it, at the end of the Mojave era, they were transitioning into what they were going to be needing to do for this M1 issue. They knew it was coming down the pipe, and they had to get people from there to this new infrastructure, and they were going to have to do it in a couple of steps. So the first thing they did, Catalina took away 32-bit support, completely redid how the operating system internally under the hood worked, and essentially crashed everyone's applications out there because everyone dragged their feet on the developer side. So when Catalina was released, it was pretty much a disaster, and I don't think anyone's going to argue that. By the time they got to, they took that whole year of Catalina. By the time you get to Big Sur is Catalina 2.0. It is everything working now. The drivers have caught up. It's a much faster system if you're up to date with everything. And I'm a Big Sur fan, so not a Catalina fan, but it was a necessary step to get to where we are, and it was a rough year, which is interesting because most of the book was written during the Catalina year. So if anybody had a right to write a nasty Apple book, that could have happened, but it didn't, because I understood, we work in technology. I understood what was going on, and that, you're going to break some eggs to get from, point A to point B, and that was Catalina.
Okay, I had a
I don't know if that
question,
answered your question or not, but
Ricardo. That good. I have some. I am a big Catalina fan.
really,
And yeah, because I feel like Big Sur has really been created more for the M1 Max, the newer Max. It works good on the 2015 and above, but you do have to have the memory. You do have to have a big enough hard drive. It's very creative. I like the looks and feel of it, but it's just a lot of the issues are being worked out still. Even a lot of the questions. A lot of people want to know how to go backwards, and it's not as easy to go backwards from Big Sur as it was in previous operating systems. I know that in the late 90s, Apple would come out with an operating system, and they didn't do beta testing. They did well. They didn't do beta testing the way it's done now, where they release it as a beta and we test it out, and then it's worked on as it happens. What they would do is they would have it fully tested before they would release it. It would be beta tested in-house at Apple, and then its operating system would be released. But as time went on, and the bottom line is always taking care of the stockholders, it was more, well, let's get this out, and we did the testing on it and the updates would come and it would fix itself. And that's happening with Big Sur. A lot of HP printers weren't able to connect to it for a while. And, one of the things that really got people was going to Catalina from Mojave. Well, a lot of your applications that weren't 32-bit, weren't 64-bit, wouldn't work. So if you had Microsoft Office Suite or Adobe Creative Suite and you went from Mojave to Catalina, it's like, oh no, what happened? Now they've got the circle through them and they don't work. They had to be updated. So and then a lot of people didn't have their information to get it updated. So
yeah, that was a big thing with Catalina. Is of course 32-bit went away. There was a lot of applications that we used specifically at that time that they still don't have the 64-bit version of. There's a couple of applications that I've just had to find alternatives for that we used with our business. So that was a big irritation with Catalina.
Somebody asked me if they can go to Catalina with their 2012 MacBook, and you can't. I mean, there are patches and hacks to do it, but it won't run it natively if you just try to download it.
We were fortunate. Our oldest machine was 2013, which is the one that I have down at work, which is interesting because it runs Big Sur, but when Big Sur came out, it wouldn't run Thunderbolt monitor. So my 27-inch monitor was useless unless I booted the laptop up first and then plugged it in. It wouldn't recognize it unless I plugged it in afterwards and then unplugged it before I shut the machine down. It took Apple Actually worked with them on getting that update out on 11.1, I think it was, and until 11.1, they just wouldn't do it. You just couldn't run it. And this is an Apple monitor on an Apple computer, so
I wish they would have continued to make monitors, but not the $5,000 monitor.
mm-hmm.
And printers too. They made nice printers.
Never had an Apple, never seen an Apple printer.
Well, that's back.
This has got to be pre-2013 then. 2013 is when
it's pre-2013. They had a black and white laser printer, they had a color printer, and they had dot matrix. And they were good printers. They were heavy enough they could hold your house down, but they worked well. Let's grab a question here.
I'm seeing a question over on the page on see who it was that posted it. I just saw it a second ago. If you got another question, go ahead.
Well, I was waiting on you here. My voice is starting to get hoarse.
Yeah, Peter's a little under the weather today.
I was really bad Wednesday night. I mean, really bad. I didn't think we were going to be able to do the event. You'll have to come back again.
Looking over on the Facebook page, Craig Young's talking about, and I actually know Craig Young. He's a recording engineer out in Nashville, and he uses Macs. I've been in his studio before and seen his setup out there. He's waiting for. He's not switching to Big Sur until he gets an M1. A lot of people are doing that and waiting. When Catalina first came out, if you were in the music industry, you had things like Pro Tools and stuff where you're making a living off of your machines. So they just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people out there that have just, well, I'm going to wait and I'm going to go with the operating system before whatever is the current one. If the people out in Nashville and stuff that are making, their living with these things. But, once they do get into an M1, these machines are so fast compared to what they've been used to with Intel-based machines. It's going to be a game changer. Well, it already is a game changer.
Everything I heard about them has been very positive as far as the M1s go. I haven't tried one yet. I'd be excited to try one, actually.
Yeah, I have not yet put my hands on an M1, but I have yet to hear one thing negative about the new M1 chip.
I heard that somebody ported Windows onto an M1, and it was outperforming like the i9s.
That's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best way to run Windows.
When Ricardo came to my house, he had what was that, a HP or a Dell?
It's Dell.
A Dell, and he was running Mac on it.
A Hackintosh.
Yep. A Hackintosh. Yep. Somebody wanted to know what is a good dictation software.
Oh, good dictation software. Mac OS.
Yeah, I like the OS myself. I like the dictation that's built into the Mac.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that you can dictate it. The application is built right into to Mac, and it has been pretty much as long as I remember. So that's going all the way back to Yosemite Mavericks. It's been there. It gets a little better with every incarnation. I would say probably 20% of the book that you're holding was written with dictation as the original method of writing. Put a headset on like this and start talking.
Is it a mirror image or is it
No,
the
it's
right?
working.
Okay,
I can
it's
read
good.
it.
All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna give this away, folks. Get those questions in. The other thing about that dictation, she said she tried the Mac dictation and it wouldn't stay on. She wants to dictate continuously. I think you have to have the enhanced dictation turned on, which
Yeah.
is an option that it gives you. If you
Yeah,
do
go into
that, it'll
your
stay
settings.
on.
Go into your settings, turn on the advanced. Also, it's really important to remember that you're going to be able to dictate as long as you have RAM to do it. A machine that has 4 gigabytes of RAM isn't going to handle the dictation that a machine with 16 gigabytes of RAM is going to do. I noticed a big difference in midway through one of my books, not this one, but the one before it. I switched from a 16 gig home unit to a 32 gig home unit, and I could dictate almost twice as much before it jumped out, and I had to go back into dictation. So yeah, you kind of have to pay attention if you're doing. I mean, if you're writing a book, you've got to really watch it, because at some point during that paragraph, it's probably going to jump out on you.
How's the autocorrect?
Autocorrect, as they say, autocorrect is my worst enemy. Apple's autocorrect drives me batty, yet I don't turn it off.
Yeah, I'm same way.
So, love it, hate it.
Somebody asked how they can get their comments on the event page or on the broadcast page, and I just posted. I thought I posted that link, but
Carol's figured it out.
I think you can do it in private chat, and then it shows up in comments. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Well, try and leave a message.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Let's see.
Of course, we're on live, so it may not.
Yeah. I know you have to.
That's why private chat is the only thing that we have access to, because we can talk. We don't have to write in the chat box.
I just typed a question in private chat, but I don't see it showing up in comments.
Yeah, someone would have to be logged into the software watching, and then it probably will have that little box down below, like it does.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the box for me.
You do have to give Facebook permission to let StreamYard post your comment or something. There's a page for that too that I just posted. Can you access movies on Netflix with a different device if you can't do it with your iMac?
Yeah, Netflix. Okay. A lot of devices that
I think that's there's a lot of. I think you can get Netflix on anything now.
A non-Mac question. That's creative.
Yeah. I have a Mac desktop that won't let me load or download anything on the App Store. It says I need OS X version 10.14 or later. Does that cost money, or can you just download it?
To the best of my knowledge, Apple has never charged money for an operating system update.
Never.
So it's a question of whether or not you're on a machine that is new enough to run the current OS. And if it's not, then it will access, I believe it will access the App Store, whatever was state of the art when that particular operating system was in its prime.
And I know for the High Sierra and above, actually Mojave and above, you'll go into your system preferences to updates. And for your applications, you'll go under the Apple menu to the App Store for updates to the apps. They used to be both together, but they separated them since Mojave and on.
Yeah, I also think it depends on what year machine they're running. If it's older than like a 2012, then like a lot of the app store is not going to be usable just natively unless they use a patch.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best software for emulating or running Windows on your Mac? Another Windows Mac question.
Well, personally, our business, we have to run a PC side in our front office, which Leslie runs. And on that machine, we have Parallels. Mac OS has their emulation, built into it, which I have tried. I keep going back to Parallels. I like the fact that, as the name suggests, you can run both OSs side by side. So if you're using the one that's built into the Mac, you're booting your Mac in totality into one of the two operating systems. So you can't run it parallel. There used to be a way to run individual applications as well. There was the whole wine bottle thing where you could take an application and you would run it through a program. I don't even know if that exists anymore. I'm probably dating myself in the Apple ecosystem there.
Doesn't exist after High Sierra.
Yeah.
They got rid of it.
Okay.
What was it called?
Wine.
What was it called?
Wine. Yeah. But personally, our personal preference is Parallels. The Pro side, it works really well, and you can do two things. You can run two operating systems at once. The Con side, it costs you money every year to use it. So you get what you pay for.
Yeah, I like Boot Camp. I don't mind the dual boot. I've actually, we talked about people that have switched from Mac and PC and vice versa. I actually had somebody who they wanted a PC, but they got a Mac and just had me put Windows on the Mac. And they didn't have any Mac side at all because the company they worked for wouldn't let anybody have Mac software on their machines. So when I started Mac Tech Computer, it was in Rochester, New York. And Rochester had one of the largest captive Mac users in the country. And that was Disney. I mean, not Disney, Kodak. But they did a lot of stuff for Disney. But Kodak had more Macs in-house than Apple themselves. They had so many machines. So there was a directive that went around. I don't know what year it was, but they said, we're not going to do any Macs anymore. Everything's going to be PC. And that lasted for about a year before the people complained so much that they wanted the Macs back. And this is way back during the PowerBook and again, before your 2013. Mm-hmm. But what a lot of people didn't know in Rochester is the Eastman Kodak did a majority of the Apple repairs. That it wasn't Apple Care back then, it was Apple Warranty. You'd send your machine for warranty repair. They'd send it to Rochester, New York, to Eastman Kodak, and Kodak would do the repairs. And if you lived in Rochester, now it was a big secret. I don't know why it was a secretive thing, but it was very secretive. But because I was the Mac guy and try to find out everything Mac, I ended up finding out about it. But you'd be in Rochester, New York, and want to get your Mac fixed. They'd ship it away and then ship it back to you. But it only went like down the street. It might go to the hub, FedEx hub, wherever that would be, but it would come back to Rochester and then go back to you. And the way I found that out was actually by scratching off shipping labels. Mm-hmm. Because when I was early in business, and I was buying computers from different vendors, I always wanted to see where the vendors got their machines from. So I would scratch off a label and say, okay, I can go directly to these people now because I know who they are.
Right.
But anyway.
Cut out the middleman.
Yeah, cut them out. Sorry, middleman. Somebody has a 2015 MacBook Pro running High Sierra. Should they upgrade to Mojave or Catalina? All is working fine, but I don't want to fall too far behind.
Yeah.
That's Laura.
My recommendation is always update to the latest OS, whatever that particular machine is going to run. Now, if you're a person that is scared to do that on the first day of a new operating system or the first month, because you know that there's going to be bugs and it's going to take a month or two to get those fixed and you want to wait. Okay. If you're a person that has that's running you're using your Mac for a living, you're in a recording studio, you got Pro Tools running, or you're in a video studio, movie studio, and you're using it, and you have a specific application that you're running and you're not sure if that's going to run under a new operating system or how it's going to run under a new operating system, do your due diligence, research it, and then make your decision. But the general person out there that just has a Mac and they're out on the internet and they're using their spreadsheets to do their bills and what have you. My recommendation is always to get the latest and greatest, because you're getting the latest everything. You're getting the latest drivers, software updates, just compatibility wise with everything that's coming down the pike. You don't have to worry about someone coming out and updating an application that is now causing problems on your machine because it's made specifically for Big Sur or what have you.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing you'll find is if you don't keep up, that there's be software that comes out that, wants to work for a later operating system and you don't have that operating system. That's another thing that Apple also has been very good about in terms of how long I remember having Microsoft Office 2009 and used it all the way up until, well, probably just a few years ago.
Yeah, I did the same thing with 2007. I had 2007 forever on a machine before. I think I went from 2007 to 2019. My Microsoft Office on my machine, I don't do the 365 thing. I actually have the software on it. That's how we do it on all of our Macs.
Well, it looks like people are starting to get the event going, so we may go over a little bit.
So I've got one thing to offer. This person said it messed with their printer last time they updated. We've had lots of different printers over the years, and we've recently found behind Paul right there, that printer that we are absolutely in love with, and it works really, really good with a Mac.
What is that?
It's the Brother multifunctional one.
We're not endorsed by Brother.
No, we're not. But,
either.
But we have had such good results with that particular printer. The cartridges last a long time, and they install super easy. You can print from your phone directly to it. And
they just play well with Apple.
Yeah. They're sturdy. They're reliable, and best printer we've used yet with a Mac.
And that's a color version. The color versions are expensive. I think it was $450 or $480 or something for that one. But and we're talking a laser printer here. It's not a bubble jet or anything. The monotone, the black and white version, that was cheap. I think we paid $145 or something for that thing. I mean, it was cheap.
Yeah, you can.
And it just keeps working. she puts that thing every day. She's just printing tons of pages at work. She is killing rainforests on a daily basis.
I would tell anybody that prints a lot of black and white to get a laser printer.
Yeah,
If you're still using it,
we've gone through them all, man.
yeah. If you're still
I
using
print
an
out-
inkjet,
Yeah, I print up like 20, 30 page contracts that we have to do for our business and stuff. And, you know, I could go through, golly, probably I could print up about 20 or 30 page contracts and keep going. I mean, it
doesn't care.
So it gives me no problems. It works. And I've had to replace the,
toner,
not the toner, but what's the thing you called?
user.
the toner, the cartridge the
that
toner
thing.
goes into. Yeah. It's like
The drum.
every piece is like, I think it's the drum. Yeah. Every piece is like replaceable on the thing.
Yeah.
It's like you put the toner into the drum and then the drum goes into the printer.
Yep.
And I've only had to replace that once. And how long do we think? I think we've had it 7 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
The black and white.
Yeah. It's just, we can't kill it.
Yeah.
When's the last time you say that about a printer? I mean, I don't care if it's an EcoTank printer, any bubble jet ink printer, or whatever. You bring that thing home, you are in love with that thing for the first 4 months.
Yeah.
Toast.
Yeah. I had a very expensive Kodak color inkjet printer, and I bought it because it was the economy cartridges this thing was supposed to. Well, the problem is if you let it sit for too long, then the nozzles get clogged up and the ink cartridges dry up, and so and $450 for a color laser is not bad at all, actually.
It's not bad at all. Now, people need to know that if you it's not a photo printer. If you want a photograph quality printer, you're going to need to buy a bubble jet and be happy with it for the first 4 months. But if you are printing flyers, whatever, with color, that thing works great. Can it print a photo? Yes. Does it look good? No. But today with Costco and all these, I mean, if you really need to print a photo, 19 cents later, you have a photo.
Right.
But you have a photo. So the way we looked at it is for day-to-day printing, that's the guy. If we need to actually print a photograph to hang on the wall, we'll pay our 19 cents at Costco and we'll have them print it, and life's good.
Yeah. You can even send your files to a lot of the places now. You can send your photo, and when you get there, they'll have it ready for you.
And really, who prints photos that much anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, you got them on your phone, you got them on Facebook, you got them on.
Well, that same person that's got CDs that they like to play. It's funny, but the concept of that, sending files somewhere to be printed, years ago, before people could get on the internet, I had an online service. It was called Mac's Last Stand. And it was one of the largest Macintosh online services in the country. Back then, you couldn't get on the internet unless you were a college, military, and some big businesses getting on the World Wide Web. So I was on as a user because I had my first Mac, a 128, and I didn't know what to do with it. But I found that these online services, you could dial in with the modem. It made the noise like the fax machine, and it was all command line based. So I had to learn how to type a little bit and figure out what all this stuff means. But anyway, I got to like it because I could get Mac files from there, and there weren't too many places to get Apple software. That was one of the big things about Apple when it first started. And the person had about 200 users, even though it was one of the bigger Mac only ones. And he moved to Washington State. I was in upstate New York. He moved to Washington State. And before he moved, he dropped his computer off at my front door, rang the bell and said, "You got to take over the online service." And so he just left it, and he didn't show me how to use it or anything, but I hooked it up and got that online service going. And Mac's last stand went from 2 phone lines that he had. Actually, he had on 1 phone line, but I ended up with 12 phone lines on this thing. I had these 2 big Power Mac PCs in my basement with modems, and I didn't even have to run the heat. I mean, they would keep the basement warm and just open up the vents. But anyway, that graphical software, there was a company called First Class, and they came out with a graphical user interface for online services, and I got that. And then I said, wouldn't it be great if I could take a folder and go to Kinko's and install the software on their server or whatever, and just take that folder and move files back and forth. Well, here we are years later, and that's common, yeah, done everywhere.
You're talking about your first graphical user interface. A lot of people, they attribute that to Microsoft, but that was actually that's actually Apple.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that Apple was the one that came out with
was the first Windows operating system. Apple.
Yeah, Apple. And Xerox actually was the first one to have a mouse, but somebody said that'll never work. So yeah, they got rid of that.
What was your first computer, Peter?
My first computer was a Mac 128, a little Mac 128. I just got out of rehab, and I was living in a halfway house. And this guy I worked with at GM, I was his apprentice, and he came to me and he said, "Hey, do you want to buy a computer for your kids?" And I said, "Sure." And he sold it to me for $200. And I took it home, and it just flashed a question mark. So I had to figure out how to get it working and everything. And I literally, once I got it going, $200, I bought. Now I have not always been a Christian. I became a Christian in this halfway house. That's where the Lord found me, or I found him. But anyway, I was making at GM probably, and it's a credible amount of money. I thought they paid these people, and I didn't think they deserved it, because at Rochester Products was all very small stuff. It was easy work, but I didn't know that the union paid everybody in the whole country the same thing, no matter what you do. Anyway, so I got this computer, and I got it home, got it working, spent another $20 on some keyboard mouse situation. Anyway, bought a hard drive, and I had to save to get these things, because even though I was making a little bit of money at GM, the government was taking everything except for $75, and I needed $50 to live. So I put a lot into that little computer. And then when I got it working, I fell in love with it. So I said, well, I don't want to give this to the kids now. I like it too much, because that's the only thing I got in my room here at the halfway house. Long testimony short, I was in a grocery store, and I saw a Mac magazine, Mac User they had back then. And I opened it up, and I saw this computer in there, and this computer was $3,500. And I know, and so now I start thinking, my old life and how I used to get stuff that might be stolen or might be gotten from the run. And now I got this thing, and I'm trying to turn my life around, trying to be a good Christian. What do I do? And so I just couldn't touch it. I put it in a plastic bag, sat it in the corner. I was just so convicted about having this computer. And I asked a friend at work, I said, here's the situation. I explained it to him. And he said, well, you got to do the right thing. And I said, thank you. But that was like no help to me. I don't know what to do. And anyway, I ended up taking that thing to the police station and sitting it on the counter. And I felt like Abraham putting his son up there because I really started to like this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And two things I remember from my past life is, one, they're going to ask me where I got it from. And two, I'm just as responsible for having it, buying it from somebody. And three, I got it from a guy at work, and I don't want it to end up a big thing with him at work, big German guy who I was an apprentice under. So I had these things going through my mind anyway. I just prayed, sat it on the counter, and I said, what is it? The police officer, he said, what is this? And I said, it's a computer. I bought it from somebody. I think it might be stolen. I want to get it to who it belongs to. And the officer said, he looked at me strange. He said, we don't have people doing this. And I said, well, that's what I'm doing. And I really appreciate this man who was sitting behind the desk at that counter who had some stripes. He said, you're doing the right thing. Same thing my friend said you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately I felt great. But then I didn't want them to ask the questions about it. So I just left it there and I started walking away. I couldn't wait to get to this escalator and start going down, to get back out. And I heard him call me, Mr. Alves, come back here. And so, so I went back. He said, look, you paid for it. It doesn't show up on our sheet as being stolen. I'll sign this and say that you came in to try to get it back to who it belongs to. You take that as your receipt. If anything ever happens, they can call us. And I said, that's it. He said, that's it. I took it. I went out of there and I felt like Abraham again.
There you
go. So, and that was the history of Mac Tech Computer Services, 30 plus years, and never had to advertise, never had to do anything. God just took care of it. He said, just run the business like you just did that transaction there, and I'll take care of you. And had to throw that in there.
That's great.
That was my first computer, the Mac 128, Apple's first computer. Apple's first Macintosh.
My first computers didn't really exist. I mean, I think there was a Commodore that had a VIC-20 out or something.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
In high school in the 70s, I built a 286 with a Texas Instrument chip. And after I built this thing, I had the prototype board, built it, and then looked at it because there was nothing that would run on it. I think I spent another year writing my one program that ran on it. And then the first computer I think I went out and bought was the first of many Commodore 64s and 128s before I actually got a PC, laptop, black and white, monochrome, Windows 3. And that would have been in the 90s, mid 90s probably.
I want to stay on the book too. Look at that.
You're breaking up. I couldn't hear you.
You hear me?
A little.
I might have hit my volume here.
Yeah, it's just it's like doing a digital distortion thing.
Crackling.
Any better?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me grab another question.
I'm going to try an experiment here and see if this shows up. I'm going to post a question on Facebook and see if it shows up on the StreamYard. And there's like a 10-second delay too, right?
10 seconds.
Probably.
Yeah.
I was going to say my first computer was a Packard Bell, It was a 486 DX2. Ran, I think, 66 megahertz. Only had like 2 gigs of RAM. No, not even 2 gigs. It was like megabytes worth of RAM, 4 megs or
Yeah,
something.
megs.
Yeah.
I was going to say 2 gigs. Woo. Did they actually make a 1 gig chip at that time? I don't think so. The Facebook user, that going back to the person that's on Mojave and don't want to update because they've got 32-bit games and things like that, and it messes with their printer and stuff. There's another option if you're still on. If you want to run something that's under Mojave, we were talking about Parallels earlier. You don't have to. Parallels will do more than allow you to run Windows. You can put any operating system on your machine. So if you had things that had to run under Mojave, you just put Parallels on your machine, download Mojave, and then you can run those 2 operating systems side by side and still have access to all your old stuff, still have the ability to run all the new stuff, best of both worlds. Just costs you money every year.
That's probably the best answer so far today.
Yeah, I see a lot of, I actually hear a lot of people and see there's several questions about upgrading and to upgrade or not, and then it messes with stuff. And I think that comes partially from being a PC user, because they would slip stuff into your updates that you didn't want in there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a paranoia thing.
Yeah.
And I find that Mac just doesn't do that. They don't slip stuff in on you like PC would, and they can be trusted more if that's appropriate. And the reason that they update is to keep you running smoother. And yeah, there's some adjustments that have to be made here and there for whatever to keep whatever running right. But it's also for security. That people don't realize that that's, the updates protect you from potential threats that they know are coming down the pike, and those can protect you from threats.
Yeah.
I talk about in the book, the hardest thing you're ever going to do in learning Mac is unlearning PC. Learning Mac is not hard. Unlearning PC, very hard.
I think that's where I had an advantage, in that the Mac was my first machine. And because it was the graphical user interface, it seemed like fun more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And what Apple did, which was very smart, is they made sure that all the software companies, or all the companies that would write software for the Mac, would make them all look the same in terms of where everything is in the menus and how they drop down. So you could run one Mac program and you're already caught up a lot on the next Mac program. Whereas back then, a lot of the Windows type programs, well, there were menus all over the place and different things all over the place. You had to learn the program, and then you had to learn another program over again. Whereas with the Mac is run one thing, and the next thing you try to run is going to seem pretty similar. And that's where I could always catch a Apple program that I knew was a PC program that was converted over for the Mac, and vice versa. So
Apple's always been good about when they do their upgrade, they don't totally rewrite the book. Everything looks similar. It's intuitive. It just has new features now, or it looks a little nicer now, or what have you. A Facebook user here says, why did Adobe make their software pay per use? I purchased a full CS6 and now I need to pay monthly to use Adobe products. The answer to that question is because they're a business.
Yeah.
And they're a business that really likes to make a lot of money. Here's something I've noticed about Adobe, and I don't want to, I'm not talking good or bad or whatever opinions about how someone runs their company. A business is a business, and it's out there to make money. Their model makes a lot of money. And if you look at, let's take Adobe Reader for an example. Okay. You had Adobe Reader out there for what, 10, 12 years? I see all the computer guys are all laughing. You know where I'm going. They had this breadcrumb out there where everybody in the world is now using Adobe and PDFs, right? No computer. You're not going to have a single computer that isn't going, you're not going to be dealing with PDFs, which is an Adobe product, which was free for years. Now everyone's totally entrenched. Okay. If you want to keep using it professionally now, you're going to pay a monthly price for it times how many computers in the world, because everybody's locked into it. And right now I'm just watching everybody, PC, Mac, everybody going through this thing with these programs, these applications that depend on Adobe Reader, like QuickBooks, for example. And we'll use them for an example because that's something that we're dealing with right now in our business. QuickBooks has nothing to do with Adobe. It has nothing to do with that part of the program. If that part of the program, you're using QuickBooks and you have an Adobe PDF issue, tough luck. You have no recourse with, getting online with QuickBooks to figure out that part of their program, because they don't write that part of their program. They use all these other companies for drivers and things like Adobe. And now we're going into an era for the next, I don't know how many years, where if you're going to be using Adobe Reader professionally and you want all the features of it and you want it to work all the time, you're going to have to pay for it. Every computer in the world.
Yeah, it seems like all of the software companies, most of them are going to that.
You're going digital again there,
okay.
Peter.
I'll be right back. You guys hold the fort down.
Yeah, we with QuickBooks especially, we've just recently had some serious issues with the PDF problem. I don't know exactly. They do have a free version, right, Paul? But it doesn't have all of the
free version that's totally unsupported.
Yeah, and it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. You can't sign documents.
If you have an issue with it, well, we have a paid version that we can help you with. So
yeah, but you still can print if you use the free version, right?
I believe
still print PDFs and stuff. I have been, right?
Yes, that is true.
You just can't track documents. You can't sign documents. I think you used to be able to do that with the free version, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A Facebook user here says Adobe is greedy. Well, businesses generally are greedy. That's what a business is to make money, and some are better business people than others, I guess. I don't want to really go off on Adobe other than the fact that acknowledge that, yeah, we're having issues, and the business model is maybe not high on my praise list right now, and we'll leave it at that. I've got a Facebook user here says, I updated 2 iPads to iOS 13. Apple absolutely screwed up the Mail app as far as I'm concerned. That's why I don't trust updates, and I've seen lots of problems people have encountered with Big Sur. Yeah, anytime you update something, you run the risk of it interfering with something that's on your machine specifically that it's conflicting with. Apple is probably the best as far as that's concerned if you're comparing with PC or other operating systems, but it does happen. When we're using Apple computers, sometimes we expect them to be absolutely perfect and we forget that it's still a computer in the end. And computers are by their very nature complex and therefore problematic. Apple does probably the best job, in my opinion, out there with it. I've heard a couple of people that have said that their Mail app was screwed up and that they've gone over to other applications besides mail. I've had nothing but good luck with mail and with all of the Mac OS, and I'm a heavy email user. I love the fact that I can set up IMAP and I can go from one machine to another and everything tracks. If I delete something off one machine, it deletes from all of my machines. No matter where I'm sitting, no matter what monitor I'm in front of, I'm looking at exactly the same, as opposed to using, Outlook or Thunderbird or any of these. Now, my wife, she uses Thunderbird. And I try to know enough about Thunderbird to try and support her. But oftentimes I just find myself frustrated because, she'll find something and there's a feature in Apple Mail. Well, just go here and this. Well, no, it doesn't do that. Oh.
Yeah, and I got entrenched with Thunderbird so long ago that now switching over to the Apple Mail or whatever you call it, I don't know.
Mail, yeah.
It would be really difficult to switch over because I have so many rules set up with the Thunderbird thing, and I know how it works. But I have only one machine that it works on, and so there's only one machine that I can actually check emails and get emails to go away on, delete them off the server and stuff. My email is not the best. I kind of wish I would have.
It's probably the same Facebook user that says the thing about deleting junk mail on the mail app. It doesn't delete it. It just moves it to trash, and then you have to delete it again. That annoys me.
I find that with Thunderbird as well.
Yeah,
there's a setting. There's a setting for that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a setting for that where they can tell it to automatically empty the trash after a day or 2 days or 30 days. If they go into their mail settings, they'll be able to find that. But it will delete the trash for you if you. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, even beyond your mail app, your entire trash bin for your Mac, a lot of people, they don't know that you can set that to automatically delete all of its files 30 days after a file hits it, which I encourage everyone to do that. If you've deleted something and it sits in your trash bin for 30 days, you don't need it. You really don't.
We had a problem. I was not emptying my trash, and our iCloud storage started sending us notices saying your account's full, you have to pay for more storage. Well, we found buried deep somewhere, Paul found it, that if you just empty your trash, your iCloud doesn't fill up.
Yeah, most people don't understand that trash ends up in your iCloud, that it's a shared thing. And I was shocked when I found that out. And and once if you set up to delete every 30 days, it becomes automatic. And same thing with the mail programs. All mail programs, once something goes into trash, it's there for a set amount of time, and you either have to delete it manually or you have to set the program to delete it for you after a certain amount of time. So I don't think that's an Apple Mail thing. I think just about any email program you're going to be running, you have to do that level of maintenance.
I have to empty my trash on my computer at work almost every day, because every time I open up an attachment from an email, it goes to my desktop, and then if I don't want my desktop to be totally cluttered up, then I have to throw that in the trash. So I get probably 10 to 15 things a day that go into my trash, and so if I don't empty my trash every day, my trash just gets completely filled up, and I'm going to get
that's
those.
A Thunderbird thing. Thunderbird will default to that. You have to go in and change that, and it's semi-complicated to do it. It's kind of buried, but a lot of people that have Thunderbird or people that have Parallels and have it set to where it's dumping things on the two desktops every time it opens, they'll have that issue too. Yeah, keep your trash empty.
Yeah. And then you don't have to pay so much for your iCloud storage.
Yeah. Boy, another thing that just eats the iCloud storage, photos. If you've got your photos going up to iCloud, everything in Apple wants to default to the Photos app and wants to default to using iCloud to manage your photos. And if you don't manage your own photos, Apple knows that most people don't. And they've come up with a handy way to do it, which is great. And it costs a lot of money to do it. And they make a lot of money off of it. So because they're always paying for more iCloud storage, because they're always running out of iCloud storage. So again, I try to encourage people, if, do some management, computer management, learn how to take care of your photos outside of having it automatically upload to iCloud and automatically stay on all of your devices. Learn how to put those off onto a photo server drive. So you're, especially if you take a lot of pictures. I take a lot of pictures. I've got a 5 terabyte drive that's probably a quarter full of pictures. So if I was putting that all up to iCloud, I can't imagine how much it would be costing me. And yeah, here's a Facebook user. Yeah, I just upgraded my iCloud storage from 99 cents to $2.99 a month. Having said all that, the price that Apple gets for their cloud storage is pretty good. I don't mind paying. Every price level, what you're getting, I think is a good deal. I can't go out and buy a hard drive for that and expect a mechanical drive to last, and pay for itself compared to what they can do. So having said that, I don't have a problem with what Apple pays for cloud storage, but I'm not going to pay any more than I have to.
Yeah, I really am an advocate of iCloud storage, and I avoided it myself for years. I tried to just manage my own photos and do my own backups and have all my own control of all that stuff. But what happened is, through going through many devices, phones, iPads, computers, it just became so much easier to just get a new phone and then put in my ID and password and everything come into the phone.
True.
And now with the Mac, I switch Macs a lot. As a matter of fact, I switched one right when Ricardo was here. So it's great to just plug the machine in, put in my user ID and password, and get everything. Everything comes into my machine, and everything's stored where I could be working on a consulting job and on a PC and type in iCloud.com and see all my stuff. So I don't even have to be on my computer to see my desktop, my documents, my photos, So anyway, so I like, and that's the plan. That $2.99 plan is the one I have. Okay, it says I have an old iMac 2011, just got it. Worked fine until they wiped it and installed High Sierra. Now I'm having issues with the fan being super loud. Is it because it's a newer OS and not compatible with the old 2011 iMac? No, that's not the reason that fan is being loud. What you need to do is reset the power management unit, reset the PMU, and I can post directions on how to do that. That does control fan, but it could be the sensor also for the fan. It could have went at the time you had that done, but I don't think it has anything to do with the operating system. But one thing it can do is something I do, because I do a lot of the solid state drive upgrades on the 2011 and the other iMacs, and the old iMacs have a temperature sensor that plugs right into the hard drive. So when I do the solid state drive upgrades, they don't have that sensor. So the hard drive fan will blow at full speed, and that's probably what you're hearing. What you can do is install a app called Mac Fan Control. And that will let you control your fan manually. The fans are temperature sensing fans. They have a temperature sensor and they go up and down according to how they need to cool. I like to use fan control. Even if I don't have a problem with my fans racing, I'll use it just because sometimes I like to kick them up a little higher than what Apple has them set at or has them to automatically go to. And I'll set them higher, or sometimes they may be too loud and I'll set them lower. So Mac Fan Control, that's just type in Google that and you'll find it.
Will your NVRAM sometimes cause issues with that?
Your RAM?
Your NVRAM.
It could, because there's on a 2011 there's 5 fans, and one of them is dedicated. One of the sensors is right on the video card where the VRAM is. So that can be a problem because it's that particular area that's getting hot, and the video card gets very hot on that. I don't know what's solder melt temperature, Ricardo.
It just depends on which solder you're using. With the solderless stuff, it has a higher burning point. With the leaded stuff, it's a little bit lower. Typically, I'm soldering at around 350 to 400 Celsius.
Yeah, and that's with that 2011 iMac and the 2011 MacBook Pro 15-inch and a lot of HP product. Well, it was electronic wide because it's Xboxes and a lot of electronic equipment around that time has problems where, like with the Mac, the video chip is soldered onto the logic board or soldered onto a board that's part of the graphics card. And that solder will get so hot that chip will actually move. And so you got a lot of these 2011s and that iMac that people will put up the pic. I mean, I see them almost every day on the Mac computer user group. What's wrong with my Mac? This is, and they got a screen with just lines in it, or it's just black, and it's 99.9% of the time. If you tell me it's a 2011 15-inch, or you tell me it's an iMac 2011, or Ricardo sees it, we know right off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had a 2013 that when I updated it to Mojave, its fan ran a lot more. And I reset the NVRAM on it, and lo and behold, everything went back to similar to what it was before.
Oh, that's what you were saying, resetting the NVRAM. I thought you were saying NVRAM. Yeah, that's a Command Option PR.
And if anybody needs to know how to do that, you can find those tips in the 15-minute MacBook.
Nice plug.
And that won't take 15 minutes.
No, it won't. It should probably plug the just kind of the premise of the book is I didn't write this book in chapters. I wrote it in almost all single page lessons that you can do in 15 minutes. And the idea is there's 365 days in a year. If you want to take one day a year and learn a 15-minute lesson, you'll master your Mac in a year or less. And I go into some in-depth stuff, resetting your NVRAM. What is NVRAM? Why would you want to reset it? There's a lot of information there.
It's 600 and some odd pages. Now, I've been doing the Mac since they were invented. I'd be hot pressed to come up with 1/4 of what's in here. So it's a lot of good information. And like I was saying earlier, I really appreciate how it's broken down into the 15-minute segments, because I know as a preacher, after 15 minutes, you done lost your attention. So, and that's what's nice about the Mac, that I don't think I could have established the business that I did with the computers and with the online service and with some of the other things I've done if it wasn't a Mac based, if it got a Windows machine back then, I really don't think it would have happened, because Mac people tend to be a little more passionate about their machines, and they're different people. When I started the business, I was doing Mac and PC. I was doing both, but the Mac was the specialty, and the people were different. I'm telling you that it wasn't just the computers were different. They were different people, and Mac people are pretty funny. Every Mac I get, you get this person who their desktop is this stuff all over the place, but they know exactly where everything is. They know exactly. That's how it was. And you said about the automatic trash emptying. Me, I like to keep my trash. If something goes in there, I should set it for automatic. But I'm thinking, well, what if something goes in there that I want to get back real quick? But I keep that keep it neat. But I should set it for that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
One thing I would say in regards to like the photos and like iCloud storage and that kind of stuff, these things are actually pretty nifty. They're just your lightning bolt, USB thumb drive, and basically, it has a USB side on this side as well. And they actually work pretty well with like phones and iPads and that kind of stuff to get your photos off of them.
Yeah, I'm a big iCloud fan. Everything is all iCloud, but for the photos, just because I'm a photographer that is just taking so many photos and videos, I just choose not to use it. It's great if you hardly take any and you need something to do it all for you. Apple will do it for you at a premium, and they'll do it well. We've got a question on Facebook. I have a 27-inch iMac. The hybrid drive is starting to fail. So I'm thinking about getting a 1 terabyte SSD external to use as startup. Are there any caveats to this? Yeah, I've got opinions on that, but Peter, you're a
that's
you take that one, and then I'll just.
I'm gonna say this. If you get an iMac, you want to have a solid state drive right off the bat. When you buy it, get a solid state drive. The problem with hybrid
drives have two reasons to exist: to store information and die.
Yeah, exactly. A hybrid drive, or as Apple calls them, a fusion drive, or as I call them, confusion drive. Apple takes a solid state drive, which is actually, they use a chip. It's not a drive, but they call it a drive. It's a flash chip, and they combine it with a hard drive, a traditional hard drive, which has a motor. There's the two. Ricardo has them in his hands. Has a motor. That one, the big one, that's a traditional hard drive. Inside there's a motor. There are 4 platters, or it can be 2 platters, or even 1 platter. There's a read-write head, which the platter spins in between, and these heads, while those platters are reading. Now, the problem is, when you have a file on the hard drive, it can be any place on the hard drive and not even contingent. What's that word? Contingent. Well, anyway, it might not all be in one place. It could be in many places in parts. And then the drive spins and those heads find everything, put it together, and there's your file. Well, that's a traditional drive. Motor, spinning, platters, blah, blah. A solid state drive is just that chip. It's just electronic, no moving parts, very instantaneous. Well, Apple had the bright idea, since hard drives store so much data and solid state drives are so expensive, let's combine them so that we can have the storage space at a low cost. But the problem is you have moving parts, and moving parts fail. So a solid state drive, I've been doing this for all these years. I think I gave Ricardo my two, when he came, I gave him 2 dead solid state drives. That's all I've had in 35 years. Well, they haven't been around that long, but in 12, 14 years, I think they've been out. So I recommend anybody get a solid state drive for whatever they have. One of the things Apple did is when they came out with the Retina machines and the newer machines, is they went all to solid state, and they didn't have to beef up the processors because the solid states are so much faster that they can just make up this a faster machine without going to a faster processor. Although they have gone to faster processors also, but anyway. So the answer to the question is, get that 1 terabyte and use it as a startup drive. And are there caveats? Yes. To install a solid state drive in a 27-inch iMac is a very difficult installation. You have to cut that screen off, depending upon what year it is. Anything 2013 or higher, you have to physically cut that screen off, the adhesive, and go inside there.
Yeah, the easiest installation method is to grab it by the sides and move it to the side and put the new computer in its place with the solid state.
Me and Ricardo are big legacy guys. Apple doesn't work on legacy machines, and I'm so glad. When I had Apple physical location stores and shops, Apple came out with the Apple stores. When they came out with the Apple stores, they told little guys like me, you either have to get an Apple store or stop using our logo and stop using Apple and stop using. And I could see that was going to be a big to-do. And I gave up my Apple authorization, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to lose so much business. And actually it increased almost 3 times because I could charge my own prices and do repairs the way I wanted to do them. So I'm a big legacy person as far as legacy machines go, and I know Ricardo is too, and kind of the modem now, the modus operandi for most machines, most companies are, let's make disposable machines. The new Macs are excellent. They're awesome. They're the best computers, hands down. But it's just like everything else now. They're not created to last 10 and 15 years like they used to be. So,
yeah, well, we look at with the M1 coming out. I mean, there's going to be a time in the future, and when I say the future, I'm looking at 10 years down the road. There's going to come a time when you just don't want anything that's not an M1, and pretty much I know that every machine I own, and I own a lot of machines, 10 years from now, I'm probably not going to have a single one of them. I mean, we kind of saw this in about 2012, a changeover, where if somebody has a Mac 2012 and earlier, you probably, if you need it, upgrade, you're probably best off just getting a new machine.
Yeah.
2013, iffy. And beyond that, yeah, you can keep going because they're going to probably last another 10 years. You can't kill them. But, you look down the road 10 years and we're on a trajectory to go over to a new infrastructure that this M1 is running, where even now the M1 machines are still running the old stuff that was Intel based, but it's doing through emulation. And because the M1 is so fast, the emulation's actually running it as fast or faster than the Intel machine. So for now, it's good. But 10 years from now, you're going to, everything you get, you're going to want M1.
This is going to cost me some money, but
it's going to cost us all.
Right now, I'm running an iMac, 27-inch iMac, what I'm using right now for this discussion and what I've been using since Ricardo has left, that my intention is to put in a solid state drive. But because I needed to get up and running for what we're doing today, I just took an external solid state drive, plugged it into the USB in the back, and I'm not going to go inside this machine because it's been running so good. And I've been telling people, well, that's a good idea, but it's not going to be as fast as just putting one inside. But if you get a real true USB 3 case, external case, and put it in a solid state drive, this thing is just as fast as when I put them inside. Yeah, I gotta say. So all you people that I said, make sure you send it to me so I can put the solid state drive inside. You can put that solid state drive external using long as it's a 3.0 external USB case or a Thunderbolt case, which would be even better. That solid state drive will work just as well as being internal. Now you got something hanging off the back of the machine and it uses a USB spot. So those are drawbacks, but I don't need USBs and I don't need this slot. So
I just looked up the transfer rate between USB 3 and SATA 3, and the USB 3 is actually 25 megs faster.
yeah. So long as it's USB 3, this thing is running great. I mean, I was really surprised. So
Yeah, we have our iMac at in our office, on our main office down at work. Its hard drive was fairly small. It was a 256 SSD, and we just needed some more space running Parallels. I'm actually running Parallels. That operating system actually exists on an external drive that's connected USB 3 to it, and we haven't had any issues. Do I recommend that as a practice? If you can get away with it, doing internal, go internal every time. If you have to go that route, well, it works.
yeah, somebody mentioned you lose that port, that USB port. Yeah, I did mention that. Yeah. But I don't like the fact that the ports are in the back on the iMac. Mm-hmm. So I have a USB hub that connects to the bottom of the screen, and I've got my 4 ports in the front. So I've actually got extra ports. See a lot of users doing questions now, but it doesn't come up with their name. So,
well, I'm assuming that if we go back and look at the Facebook page, we can match up a user with the question. So if we do decide that one of these is the bell ringer of the 2-hour session, we should be able to go back and figure out who it is.
Carol,
I can confirm that.
Okay.
No, sorry. The original Carol with the HP deal, she said she's got to hurry up. She's got a book she's got to publish. That's why she's getting a computer.
Well, I can tell you from experience, the Mac is a wonderful device to write a book on. I had mentioned my first one was 25 years ago. In 2013, when I got my first Mac, that's why I started writing my second book. So just because it was a new machine and I had a couple of books that I was waiting to write, and I found that the software was super easy to use, and I used Apple software originally. The first book I wrote on the new Mac I used, which is now defunct, the iBook software to write it, and now I do everything in Scrivener. I'm a Scrivener guy. But even if you're just using Word or Pages, it's a joy to write on a Mac.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get your other book too, because I do so much. I mean, I don't do anything with the churches as far as music, but because so many of my clients are music people who are in the church, that they use Macs. Mm-hmm. One of the things I've been blessed with is being in the Mac realm is that I've been able to meet a lot of people who do, movie producers. The very first Spider-Man movie was done done in Wilmington, North Carolina, when I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we sold them a lot of Macs, that studio that was there. And music wise, some very influential people in the music industry, we developed a relationship because they're Mac people and I've been doing it for so long. So I'm gonna get that other book too. The one what's the name of that?
Faith Comes by Hearing. Is that the one you're referring to?
Yes. So I'm hoping that's gonna be just as good a read as.
Not sure if I have one of those handy here or not. Hang on.
We're gonna give away an autographed one, folks. So those questions and the 2 in the comments.
I have 2 sitting in my cupboard. That would be Faith Comes by Hearing. It's not quite the thickness of the 15-minute MacBook, but it's not quite the price either.
I think because there's so much more covered in the MacBook.
Yeah.
15-minute.
But
there it is.
There's a wealth. There's, a 40-year career there in that book. So
Carol's back. So I'm looking at the 15-minute MacBook. And some of these things I'm looking at the names of the chapters, the 15-minute chapters, and some of them, it's written for Lori. Some of the chapters make you want to get into it. Like, I've been hacked. Keys to the Castle. I know what that's about. Keychain, right? Is it?
Yes. And other things, but yes.
Keychain. Keychain's right above it too. Searching in messages. Sidecar. Sidecar is a big deal.
Yeah, that was one of the new features that came along with Big Sur, that answering that question earlier. That is huge. Finally, we can use our iPads as secondary monitors. Very cool for all of us that make our living out on the road, sitting in a hotel room. You can now have 2 monitors with your MacBook or your MacBook Pro.
Yeah, and I'm sure that somebody just heard that and like, I can use my iPad for a monitor.
And let me tell you, it works really good. I mean, they're talking to each other, Bluetooth back and forth. There's no, you can connect them, with a USB-C cable, but even if you're just using them wirelessly, the lag and everything, pretty good. Now, I haven't tried to do something complex like use multi-track audio software or something between the 2 monitors, something that's really, really taxing. I haven't tried that, so I'll say that. But normal, every day, I've got my email over here on the screen, I got my internet on the screen, and I'm talking to somebody in a chat or whatever. It keeps right up. There's no major lags, so I've been very impressed with it. My iPad is it's one of the new Airs, the Air 4s. Very happy with that device.
Yeah, I like Sidecar. I'm pretty. Everywhere I go, I take my iPad with me because it's just so easy to carry around and use. And so, since I can use it on my laptop too, I do use like Sidecar. File Vault. Now, I don't know how you feel about it, Paul, but I wish people would never use File Vault.
Exactly how I feel about it. Okay, if you work for the CIA and you have information on your machine that you have to absolutely lock it down, use File Vault.
Yeah.
If you're anyone else on planet Earth, unless you specifically want to slow your machine down at least 50% every time you access or do anything, and you're just really running into problems by having everything encrypted on your machine, stay away from File Vault. So it has its place. Unfortunately, a lot of people end up, when they install something, clicking that, oh yeah, more protection, sure, I'm all for that. And they don't understand that it comes with a price.
Yeah.
So that chapter will just kind of give, why you want to use it and why you don't want to use it.
Well, I'm glad that's in there as a repair person, as someone who, hey, my computer's crashed. I need to recover my data. When you got File Vault on and you forgot your password, and the tendency is to forget that password because you do it once and it's like you don't use File Vault again until you get another machine or another hard drive. So what was that password? You forget that password. There is no way that a technician, aside from a clean room environment, can get into that hard drive without it has to be erased. So,
Yeah. If I had to pick my favorite name of a chapter or the most creative that I think as the author, I would pick The Fear of God.
I saw that. What is that one?
I have a friend. He's a recording artist, famous recording artist. I'm not sure that I mentioned his name in the book, but he has the distinction of being he's mentioned somewhere in all 4 of my books. It's just a thing that I do for fun. But he called me one day. I was out in my shop, and for anybody that doesn't know, I own Leslie and I own a production company, West Coast Sound and Light, out of California. We're touring sound people, and we do large scale events. Where we did large scale events before it became illegal, and I became an author. But he called me one day. I was out in the shop, and he calls me P. Doty, and he says, P. Doty, you're never going to believe what happened to me. I said, what happened to you? He says, I turned on my phone today. I went to my contact list. They're all gone. This is a person, a national touring professional. People know who he is, artist. And he had 30 years of record label, contacts, promoters, everything in his phone, all gone. He says, I turn on my computer, go to iCloud Drive, all gone.
Wow.
So I call up my Apple support. They work with me for 2 hours on the phone. Still all gone.
Wow.
A couple of days later, I go to another production company that is about 40 minutes from us, and I'm sub-renting some gear from him. We're, 2 production company owners, friends but competitors. And I go in, and I said, when do you want? I was renting a B3 organ, and I said, when do you want this back? When do I need to have it back to you? So I don't know. I can't even tell you. I turned on my iPad this morning, and our entire calendar for the business is gone.
Wow.
So the chapter, Fear of God.
Fear of God.
If those stories don't put the fear of God in you, then you just don't have any information worth anything in your digital life. And people really tend to overlook the importance of their digital life because we have iCloud now and everything syncs to iCloud. I don't have to worry about backing anything up because it backs it up to everything. It's on my iCloud. It's on my phone. It's on my iPad. It's on my computer at work. It's on my computer at home. Well, the problem with syncing something is that it syncs. And if one of your devices syncs nothing, you get nothing. And that's the fear. That should put the fear of God in you. So basically, I go over the importance of unless you're a person that actually takes at least one more step in your backup, and I recommend 2 more steps in your backup in your digital life. Someday, you're going to be this guy because computers fail. That's just what they do. And there's 2. I go through the chapter of telling you the 2 different things that you need to do. One, of course, you have to have a time machine backup. Everybody needs a time machine backup. You don't know how to do a time machine backup? Read the book. Secondly, you need to do a manual backup on a reasonable basis. I do a manual backup of my calendar and my contacts once a month. My calendar has a reminder set to remind me to back them up manually. And on Apple products, it's so dang easy to take a snapshot of those 2 files. And people don't understand how easy it is. So that's what the chapter is about. It drives home the point and hopefully puts the fear of God into somebody of, yeah, I need to, this is something that I need to take care of, because people don't understand how important your digital life is until it's gone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I took all of my VHS tapes from family barbecues and dance recitals and music recitals, and I put them all digitally on a hard drive, and that hard drive failed. And I thank God that I have some of them on that were uploaded to iCloud. By the way, chapter 40, put it in the cloud. But I would, you really think about, well, what did I lose? Because you can't even remember everything. But every once in a while, I'll think of something and I'm like, oh, that was one of the things that got lost. And for years, as a technician, I've always told people, make sure you back up, while not backing up at all myself. Make sure you back up.
Yeah.
And I still tell people, back up your computer. So that brings us to the question, what's a better backup software to make a bootable backup? Carbon Copy or Super Duper? I've used both. I like Carbon Copy better. I don't even remember why. They both do the same. They do the same thing, but I don't remember why. But I like Carbon Copy Clone better. And
yeah, one of the things with iCloud that has made it kind of fun, kind of nice, with computers now is I just don't tend to store anything on a computer that is of lasting relevance. If it is something that's archived, my photo archive, I have a photo server drive with backup of that in 2 different locations, 3 different locations actually. All of my files that I would have normally 10 years ago stored in my documents folder, those typically go to iCloud. So anytime I take a laptop in to be serviced, or if I need to wipe something clean, I just do it, because all I have to do now is sync back to iCloud and everything just comes right back. So that's a big improvement over the last few years. I don't recommend. I mean, I have one friend that I'm thinking of he's a different artist. It's not the same one. He's does a lot of recording, home studio recording and stuff, and he tends to spread his tracks out over all kinds of different places. He has a drive that it's on. He's got iCloud that it's on. He's got the machine that he has that it's on. He has to figure out, okay, where did I store that song? Yeah, don't do that. Be organized. Have them all in one place. External drive, SSD drive. It's fast, and then have that thing backed up in other locations.
And those SSD drives have come down so much in price. I mean, I can remember just, last year, a 1 terabyte drive was like $200 or $300. Now they're $100. So they've come down a lot. And the Carbon Copy Cloner, for people that don't know, that will let you make a complete backup of a drive and make it bootable, where you can just plug that drive in and boot from that drive. So I like it for that reason. Somebody wants to know, can you put Big Sur on a mid-2012 MacBook Pro? Will Big Sur work on a 2012 MacBook Pro? Yes and no. You can't put it on there using the traditional method of going to the Apple Store and download it, or going to updates and having it do, because it's not supported by Big Sur. But you can. There are some websites you can go to. If you just type in Big Sur patch, you'll get instructions on how you can make a bootable drive and install Big Sur on a a machine that's not supposed to be able to use it. It works okay too. It works pretty good.
And if you have a Mac before 2012, the installation method that I mentioned of taking it by the sides and moving it to the side and putting the computer in place is probably your best bet.
Yeah, my advice also. Although 2012 is an important year, because that was the year that the bad solder in the graphic chips that were going bad would stop. They fixed that in 2012. And 2012 is the last year of, if anybody uses a DVD anymore or CD, the last year you have a drive that you can use.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we're at about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up. Let me make sure I didn't.
There was one question on the users group that looks like it didn't get to the StreamYard thing.
Okay.
She said it's a new user that just shared her first post. She says, I used the photo app on my MacBook Air and used the people feature, which made a nice video of my son's, but I can't figure out how to share it. I saved it in memories, but it's just individual photos. Somehow I managed to export 519 photo to desktop inadvertently. Ugh. Anyone know how to share the video it creates to Facebook? Thanks.
Isn't that just the share on the Facebook at, people have made it.
Apple's, I'm not a photos user. Like I've said, I manage my photos by hand. I think the only time I ever go into photos is if I want to make a slideshow or something. The last time I did it was for a memorial years ago. Yes, this little symbol, the universal symbol for share.
Here.
If you can find that on anything, not just your video or your pictures or whatever, but any file, anything on your Mac, you should be able to click that and open up and get a plethora of places that you can share it to.
I like what Brett says. She could import it into iMovie and then save to share. That will work too. I'll tell you what, that will work. Also, there's a poll on the site asking how long you've used your Mac. The categories are 10 to 15 years, fewer than 5 years, 30 to 35 years, 15 to 20 years, and 25 to 30 years. And it looks like the highest so far is 10 to 15 years. So that would be probably, let's see, 2012. Do you make it in there with your 2013 machine? I don't see one for me, 35 or more. So
I have no idea how long my Macs will last, because the first one I ever bought, I'm still using, and it's my main computer at my business, and I'm running a business on the machine. So,
well, I want to thank everybody who has joined in, whether you did it by doing a little comment or whether you physically came in. Ricardo, thank you for coming in. And Paul, we're going to have another one, because this is our first time doing this, my first time.
Good experiment. It's a fun experiment.
And I killed all the people that signed up for our event. I killed them off accidentally. So we had to start the event over. So I think with just the amount of people that we had this time, we could have killed it. So we'll have to have you back and do this again. And everybody, the book, the 15-minute Mac book, it's on Amazon and it's trending. So you want to get it. It's a very easy read, very Mac-like, very user-friendly. It's got 600 and some odd pages. And me, because of the testimony I gave about the computer, I'm not going to endorse something unless it's something I really believe in and enjoy and would recommend to somebody. So there it is. And people will tell you, hey, for him to let you have space on the Mac user group page, that's got to be something. So I think everybody will agree when they look back on this that it was a very productive couple of hours and it was well worth it. And I wish you great success with everything you do.
Thank you, and good health to you there, Peter. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate all your prayers. It didn't come up, but I did get tested positive for COVID yesterday. But I feel great, man. I'm like ready to take on the world. Like, I got to stay here and do this stuff online.
It's show buzz. When you get off, you'll.
Yep. Leslie, it's Leslie, right? Thank you for chiming in. I really appreciate it. And all of you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
All right. See you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.